Hello and welcome to Star Campus. The topic of today's webinar is Make a Wish. You asked, we listened. What is new in Service Pack 8? My name is Elke Fuchs and I work at the training and support team at Star LTS. LTS is a subsidiary part of the Star Group. When we ask you to make a wish, we receive mostly the answer, show what is coming up next. And since we release Service Pack 8 in the near future, this webinar shall show you new functionality which will be included in Service Pack 8. The agenda today, we will have a look at new features for Project Exchange, the track of changes, functions in the editor, terminology, machine translation, and supported file formats. If there should be questions, just wait with the questions until the end of this webinar. So we will have the time then to answer all the questions. I see that more participants have joined, and let me just welcome them. Hello, welcome to Star Campus. Thank you for being so spontaneous in participating. Due to technical difficulties, sometimes it's hard. Okay, so let's start. With this webinar that I can show you what's coming up in Service Pack 8. First, let me switch to transit. The first topic I want to talk about is Project Exchange, new features in Project Exchange. If you pack a project, you now can save the options. The options are meant here. If you tick here, I always want to send the translation extract only, or I want to send the COD file always within the translation package, within the project package. You can tick here and click on OK. And if you click here, Save this settings. These settings you have just made in the transit options will be saved for this selected customer. In my case, it's the customer presentation. So as soon as I select this customer in my project settings, and I want to pack the project, all these options are already selected. I don't have to select them anymore. A second new feature in the pack project process is here, this icon. It's attachments. You can now add to a PPF file any attachment you want to. As you all know, in general, we pack everything into the PPF which is necessary for the translation. But sometimes there is even more information you want to give to your translators, and that's when you use Add Attachments. If you click on Add File, the browser opens, and here I have prepared a folder in my working folder. I can select this one here, open it, and these two files will be attached to my PPF and send with the PPF automatically. This improvement or new feature has consequences for the unpacking of a project. Let me show you. I open the project which I have unpacked, and here we have a new icon. which says Show Attachments. As soon as this is active, clickable, you know that you have attachments with your PPF file. And if you click on it, Transit automatically opens the working folder, and when you unpacked the PPF, Transit created a folder in your working folder which is called Attachments. And then you can see what additional files you have received. Probably it could be an additional PDF or anything you want to give in addition to everything which is sent automatically anyway. Okay, the next topic is a little bit more complex. This means we talk about the revisions, the track of changes. For this, I open another project. I open a language pair. Okay. Let me show you a special segment, this one. For all those of you who have a little clue about German, you will see that this is not a nice translation. And if we have a look at the source, no, this translation does not fit. And it's exactly these cases where project managers or customers want to know, wow, where does this translation come from and how was this translation produced? This is where our newly introduced segment revisions come into place, come into action. Segment revisions can be seen in the segment info window. We have renamed this window. This window was called previously Notes window. Since we now have much more information in this window, we have renamed it into Segment Info window. In the Segment Info window, all the way on top, you see the recent change and the current situation of the segment. The Segment Info window gives you a quick overview of the last revision. And when you have a look here, you see there are 2 revision steps here. And if you want to see them, just go back to the segment and click on Compare Revision Steps. And here you can see the complete history. So this is the source text. This is the translation. And then here is a revision on it. And this is the current situation of the segment. And we can compare. If I click here, I can compare it very focused and in a little bit bigger letters here down. And we see exactly as we are used to it, all the changes marked with this red bars. If we want to restore any revision step, we can click on here and Transit will insert it. And so in this case, we would do fine. Now let me show you another segment, which is down here. Here we have even 3 revision steps. And if we want to see all 3 of them, we click on Compare Revision Steps, and we see it here. So of the source text star, we care, we have now Wir übernehmen Verantwortung. Well, if this claim is too long for me, we can just choose another one. but at the end, this one is the best translation. So we can compare very easily here, and we could also do a comparison on the basis of the previous step. 1 with 2, 2 with 3. We can filter all the segments which have revisions. For this, we have changed the segment filter dialog. You still find it here in the View tab, Create, and here. Again, we have changed here the segment, changed the title of this tab into Segment Info. And all the way down here, we have added this option that you can filter all those segments with revisions. Of course, you can save this filter. No. And save it and apply it. Then we will exclusively see only those segments which have revisions. Maybe we want to focus on them. Maybe we want to have a brief look all over the segments. Revisions are not always recorded automatically. We have to do this on purpose. We have to record them explicitly. Just because we want to avoid to record very, very large data amounts, we want only to record that what might be important. The recording of segment revisions can happen in basically 3 scenarios. Let me show you the scenarios. We start with scenario 1. We have the project manager who sends out a PPF to the translation. Ms. Carry On translates it and sends back the TPF, the translation. Now, the project manager has the chance to record the revisions. This means in this case that all the segments which Ms. On has changed, which were pre-translated, they have a revision now. Then, maybe the PPF goes out to the reviewer, and the reviewer has a look at it, does changes, and sends back the TPF. Again, the project manager has the chance to record all the revisions Ms. Glott has done. And now we would have 2 revision steps. Then the PPF goes out again, probably, maybe to the marketing department of the customer. And Mrs. Spell has a look at it, does changes, and again, when the project manager receives back the TPF and uses the option to record all the revisions, they are stored in the language pair. Scenario number 2 is like this. We have the project manager or the customer who sends out the PPF file. The PPF file goes to a translation agency. And here, the same steps as in scenario 1 take place. The PPF goes to the translation and it comes back. And if the project manager wants to record everything which Ms. On has changed in pre-translated segments, the project manager will tick the option record as revision. Then, again, the PPF goes out to the review, comes back, and when the project manager wants to record, wants to store all the revisions of Ms. Glott, the project manager will actively tick this option. And maybe it goes out again to the marketing department of the customer. And there are also changes done in the translation. And again, when the project manager does unpack the project and ticks the option as revision, these revision step is also recorded. Then the translation agency sends back the TPF. And when the customer also ticks the option, because the customer wants to know about all the revisions, only those changes Ms. On has done in pre-translated segments and the latest one of Ms. Emma Spell are recorded. Everything which happens in between, this is of no interest. This is not shown as revision when the PPF goes back to the customer. Then we have scenario 3. There is the language pair and the translation is done directly in the language pair, maybe in the intranet. And then the reviewer, Ms. Glott, just opens the language pair and does the review. And if she wants to record everything she changes, she takes the option log as revision. And when the marketing department has, after that, also a look at the language pair, and Ms. Spell also wants to record her changes, she also ticks or activates the option log as revision. These 3 scenarios are basically those where revisions are important or could be of interest and how they are recorded. Now let's go back to Transit and let me show you where you would find this option. Okay, we go back here. So the first step is we go here to review and then we activate the proofreading mode and here we go, log as revision. This is where we can record revisions when we just work in the language pair. But if the revisions as such are only of interest for the project manager will tick this option when the translation comes back. So what might be a revision? Of course, all the technical changes, textual changes, and of course, if there are changes of formatting. Then we can also have a revision report. A revision report is done here, statistics and project. We can include all revisions. This part of this quality report has changed, and we have this output format for reports. We just stick with HTML. We start it. We save it. Transit creates it and asks us if we want to open it now. Yes, we want to. Then a browser is started. And here, down here, we can see all the comments and the revisions. The option for creating a quality report is not in the range of the standard. It is a feature which is optional available. Okay, let's go back to Transit and close this window. The next topic I want to talk about are is about language direction in language pairs. Let's go back to the PowerPoint file and let me show you this one. With Service Pack 8, you can encounter this in your source fuzzy window. This little symbol is new in Service Pack 8. This symbol indicates the language direction of the reference material. And this means that the language direction was identical to the language direction of the current project. This means that German was also the source and English was also the target. The next situation is like this. If you see this little symbol, the language direction in the reference material was vice versa. This means the fuzzy match here comes from a file in my reference material which was a target language, which was the target language of a project. And according to this, we have English as source, so it's vice versa. That you know this, we have introduced this little symbol in order to indicate this for you as a translator. The third you could see is this one. This means neither of the two languages was the source, or the other way around, both languages were target languages from another project. Since Service Pack 7, we can indicate in our language pairs you are a source language and you are a target language. You derive from a project where you were the source language or target language. That's why we can tell. And we can use our reference material all the way around. It can be the same language direction, it can be vice versa, or even if Transit finds this sentence in a German file which was a target, it goes and checks if there is an according or a corresponding file for this in English. So take care. Maybe you will have one of those in future projects which are done in Service Pack 8. The next topic I want to talk about is about additional functionality in the Transit editor. So I go back to Transit. The first I want to show you is that you can use different filters for navigation. We find the navigation here, and all the way down, these three last options, these are added in Service Pack 8. For example, I want to select a filter for navigation, so I click on this, and for example, I select my revision filter. I open it, and now the complete language pair, the complete file is still visible, but I can navigate according to this filter. This means I can navigate from segment to segment which has a revision according to my filter. Of course, we have a shortcut for this. It's Control plus multiply to go forward, and Control and divide for going to the previous one. The filter is like just set in the background in order to guide you with your navigation. The next additional feature I want to show you is about colors. It's about highlighting. This we always find here in the View tab and Colors. Everything which has to do with highlighting is found here. Again, we can have highlighting, for example, of the info column according to a filter. When we click here, for example, we again select our revision filter, open it, then the information column shows all those segments where we can find revisions, which is very convenient to get a very quick overview and just go through it. We find it here. Yeah. And if we don't want to have it, we turn it off like this. The next additional feature we will have with Service Pack 8 is about the search dialog or the find dialog. I open up the window. I close now the segment info window since we don't need it anymore. And we have a close look at the find and replace window. This part down here has changed or will look different with Service Pack 8. For example, when we want to find the word Äpfel, we can count them, the occurrences. It's 2 matches found. We can also filter for them. Then Transit shows us all the occurrences where Äpfel is in a segment. We can turn the filter off, or we can have Transit highlight us the instances where Äpfel is found. Here, Äpfel is highlighted in a bright green. And the definition of this color is done in the user preferences, which we find here. The user preferences have here colors and fonts. And all the way down here, we have highlight the search results, and I have chosen this bright green, and the background according to the filter. That's what we saw in the segment info column. I have chosen here this very light pink. The highlighting can also be taken off again. These are small and tiny little additional features which might be very helpful and were wished by our own colleagues or our customers. The next topic is about the quality insurance. Everything which has to do with review and quality is found here. When I open here the options for the format check, you will find with Service Pack 8 this down here. This gives you the possibility of saving your own settings. For example, in this project, only to check markups is required. But if you want to also check probably leading or trailing blanks, or maybe find double spaces and do an autocorrection for them, you can tick this and save them. For example, mine or my settings. Save them. And then when you open a project, and you just go to the options, and then you can just open your own ones and do the quality check. This will be possible with Service Pack 8. The next topic brings us to terminology. I open up a project which has 2 dictionaries. I will close this since we don't need this anymore. So we have 2 dictionaries which are virtually merged, as it always is the case in transit project dictionaries. What is new here is that we can filter with a standard filter for duplicates. Transit will filter out all duplicates within these 2 dictionaries. Not only one, but all the dictionaries which are added to this project. So, what is seen as a duplicate? Let me show you. First of all, the check is done in the source language, as all the searches are in our term-star dictionaries. Of course, the source term is checked. Are there duplicate ones? Do we have 2 source terms which are the same? But in addition to this, Transit goes a step further. It also looks up sub-entries in our main entries. So we have as a source term, we have spring, but the synonym is source. So since a synonym is equivalent to a term, Transit also checks here. So this is seen as a duplicate. Then also in, for example, disallowed term. Disallowed term is also a sub-entry of the main entry term and also is checked for duplicates. So Transit does a profound search and check for duplicates, not just the surface of the main entry, or better said, the source term. The next topic brings us to machine translation. I just go back to Transit. And let's have a look here. Since Service Pack 7, Transit supports machine translation in general. With Service Pack 8, we have added a few more engines. We consider machine translation as additional help for our translators. We do not consider machine translation as a substitution to human translation. We make effort of the fact that it is there. And if the translator wants to have the help of machine translation, why not? We offer it on demand. So if you are registered with these systems in the internet, you can ask, or better said, you can send there your sentences which you want to have machine translated, and you will get the result back. And if you use it or not is up to you. You always go searching in those systems or in those engines on purpose. It's not done in the background without you knowing it. Basically, we have 2 lists here. We have the list down here I was talking about. These are systems or engines in the internet. And these systems we have up here are so-called trained systems. These systems are only then available if your customer has a trained engine with the own material. So this is customer-owned material, and a trained engine or a train system, which is only available if the customer has one. And these systems are always available in the internet as long as you apply there, as long as you register there. And please be aware of the fact that these systems gather information which is sent to them. This was machine translation. And the last topic I want to talk about is additional file formats. We support with Service Pack 8 the complete Office package of 2013. Then we support FrameMaker 12 and InDesign CC 2014. And in addition to all this, we support the processing of STL PPX files. Those project packages can be unpacked in transit with Service Pack 8, be processed in a very convenient transit environment, and then be packed and sent back, so that you have the chance to work in your own preferred environment. This file format, WebVTT, comes from subtitling. With Transit, you can do and process subtitling projects. You have the video running in the Transit editor and can do your translation in the language pair in order to have that video subtitled. The file format WebVTT is in addition to those file formats we have already supported. Bye-bye. Thank you.